on the far northern coast, where roaring waves crash against black cliffs, stood an old lighthouse called Eagle Point. For over 100 years, it had guided ships through treacherous waters, and inside lived a quiet man named Elias Rohan, the last lighthouse keeper of the region. Most people had forgotten him. Most didn't even know his name. But for the sailors navigating those harsh, freezing waters, Elias was the difference between life and death. Elias wasn't always alone. Years ago, he had big dreams of becoming an engineer, traveling the world, and building great machines. But after his wife passed away unexpectedly, he left the city, carrying nothing but grief and silence. He took the lighthouse job partly to escape, partly to heal, and partly because he believed he no longer mattered. For 20 years, he tended that beacon, through wind, snow, storms, and darkness. Elias climbed the 200 steps to the top every single night. He cleaned the mirrors, checked the generator, and made sure the light shone brightly across the ocean. No one ever praised him. No one visited. No one said thank you. Yet, he kept going. Many people said the lighthouse was old, outdated. Why maintain something the world no longer needed? But Elias refused to abandon it, because deep in his heart, he knew one truth. Even if just one ship needs this light, I must keep it alive. One winter, the worst storm in 50 years struck the coast. Waves higher than houses slammed against the rocks. The wind screamed like a living creature. That night, the power went out across the entire region. Elias rushed to the lighthouse generator. It was broken. The backup batteries dead, and the storm was destroying his equipment faster than he could fix it. For the first time in decades, the lighthouse went dark. He felt his chest tightened. Through the thunder, he saw something terrifying. A large passenger ship was approaching the coastline, completely blind in the darkness. If the light stayed off, the ship would crash into the cliffs. Hundreds of people would die. Elias grabbed his old toolbox and fought the storm, slipping on wet metal, his hands shaking from the cold. Lightning flashed. The ocean roared. At his age, he could barely stand. But then, another voice whispered, "Someone out there needs you. Don't stop." With numb fingers, Elias began rebuilding part of the generator, using spare wires and bolts he had saved over the years. He pushed. He pulled. He worked until his hands bled. Finally, with one last desperate attempt, the light awakened. A single, powerful beam cut through the violent dark. The ship saw it, turned, and avoided the cliffs by only a few seconds. Elias collapsed to his knees, exhausted, soaked, and freezing, but alive. He had saved them. The next morning, the storm calmed. News helicopters arrived. Rescue teams came to check the coastline. The ship's captain searched desperately for the lighthouse keeper who had saved their lives. When he found Elias, the old man tried to wave it off, saying, "I just did my job. Nothing special." But the captain shook his head firmly. "You saved 214 souls last night. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they're alone in a lighthouse." For the first time in years, Elias's story reached the world. Newspapers wrote about him, children sent him letters. Sailors visited him just to say thank you. But the most meaningful moment came from a young father who held Elias's hand and said, "My little girl is alive because of you." Elias didn't know what to say, but inside, something long forgotten stirred purpose, pride, and the feeling that his life truly mattered. Years later, when Elias finally retired, thousands of people showed up to honor him. They rebuilt the lighthouse, modernized it, and named it Rohan Lighthouse, Beacon of Hope. Before leaving, Elias gave a short message to everyone gathered on the hilltop. Your life won't always be loud. You won't always be seen. But even unseen work matters. If you stay committed, if you keep your light shining sooner or later, someone will be grateful you existed. Those who heard him never forgot his words. Elias's story is a powerful reminder for all of us. You don't need fame to matter. You don't need applause to make a difference. You don't need the world to see you to change it. Sometimes the greatest victories happen in silence. Sometimes the most important work is invisible. And sometimes your light reaches people you will never meet, in ways you will never fully understand. So if you're struggling, if you feel unseen, forgotten, or unimportant, remember the lighthouse keeper. Remember Elias Rohan. And keep your light on. Someone out there needs it. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider sharing it and subscribing for more inspiration.